Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 40 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. Episode 40 already? Man, it feels like I just started this series and I'm super hyped because it's episode 40, which means you guys get a world download at the end of this episode, which is cool. I'm super excited. We're going to be playing a little bit more Deep Resonance today. We're going to have some fun with it. You are not the hotkey that I meant to hit. Yeah, lots and lots of fun to be had with Deep Resonance today. Loads. I would like to get a fully functional Deep Resonance system up and running, and I kind of mapped out how I want it to look and work. I think this will do. Actually, I don't think I need these blocks. I don't think I need those blocks. Correct? Correct. We're going to find out. So I need a few more things. I got most of the crafting done ahead of time, but there's a few things we need to work on. I'm going to need a lot of this stuff. Filter material. Actually, a decent amount of it. We're probably going to need like a stackish of it. So I'm probably going to teach our system how to make it here. We're also going to want another machine frame, which means I'm going to need another bit of resonating ore cooked up in the alloy smeltery, which is quick. Zoink. And you know what? Actually, I think we're good. Let's teach it how to make filter material. Let's do that. That sounds like a good time for everyone to have. Are we full on crafters down here? We're getting close. Let's ask our guy, Mr. Refined Storage, to make a few more crafters for us. 10-ish sound good? It seems like a lot of diamonds. Let's say like 2. That feels better. Alright, let's pop upstairs. So what do we got going on today? We want to get refined, or we want to start refining the liquid crystal that we made last episode. At the very, towards the end, I guess I would say, of the last episode, we made progress with Deep Resonance. And basically what we've got set up here is as follows. We set up a system to export lava into this tank underneath, which needs to be around 50% full. Somewhere between 40 and 60 is good. So as long as we're between 40 and 60% full, we'll be fine. If we get too low or too much lava inside this tank, it'll start negatively impacting the crystals we're going to make. And we set up a nifty little liquid monitor here to make sure that was all good to go. And then we wrapped up the episode. We threw some resonating ore in there. We threw about 30 of them in there, and that got us 6,000 millibuckets, or 6 buckets worth of liquid crystal. The quality is 100%, and quality is strictly determined during the smelting process. Because this tank right here had somewhere between 40 and 60% liquid in it at all times, we lucked out, right? We did a great job. I'm getting a speed buff every time I break something. That's interesting. Is that you doing that, Mr. Armor Set? Must be. Cool. So basically, because this was between 40 and 60% lava in there, our quality's 100%. That's great. The next thing we need to do is filter it. To filter it, we're going to need a purifier. These blocks are going to go right here. And that's going to get really annoying really fast. Every time I break a block, my field of view adjusts. I might need to go remove whatever's doing that. So we're going to want some filter material to go along with this. We've got a bit. We're going to want like 2 stacks of it. Missing gravel. All right, I need to teach you how to make gravel. Let's teach you how to make gravel, shall we? I can just sag mill cobblestone into gravel, right? Crusher it, sag mill it. That should also work. Yeah. Let's do the sag mill route. So we'll do these guys, this to this pattern, and I think I've got a sag mill down here, don't I? Yes, and I think it doesn't have any patterns in it, it just has bone meal, so that's good. So now if I say I want some of this filter, so let's try 2 stacks of this now. That looks good. Cool. So you'll get to crafting, which is awesome. And while that's happening, let's talk about purifying. Right, so purifiers are cool. They just need tanks on top of them. And I've crafted a few tanks here. 3, 4 tanks. These tanks are multi-blocks, so even though they don't like render like they're multi-blocks? They are. So when a liquid goes into these tanks, see how the amount there is 48,000 and this tank is 16,000? 16 times 3 is 48. Entity hint, this is one giant tank, right? Purifiers will improve the purity of the liquid. And the purity stat affects how much radiation, aka how many negative effects, spill out into the environment when you activate your purified crystal. So we're going to definitely want to purify this. Purifiers can get you up to 85% purity. And that's what we're going to work towards, right? So what we're going to want is some pressurized fluid conduits. And basically, when we run this guy, we're going to want to output from the top and input to the side. And we'll have this guy set up. And we pretty much always want this to run. So we'll say down is always active. And then it flows very nicely. Cool. And we've got 6,000 of purity 10. Now all we need to do is throw some filter material inside these guys. Cool. And what's going to happen is it's going to take some of the liquid out of the tank above it and go ahead and purify it. So you can see the purity went up to 10.8. Neat. It also spit out some of this stuff, spent filter material. Now if we want to manage that, we can get a chest or some other kind of storage medium. For now, we'll do maybe a chest in front or behind. It's the only part I didn't think about with this is how to collect this spent filter material. I'll have to figure something out. It's gonna be a little tricky. I want it to like both look good. I wonder if I put it underneath. Would a chest underneath work out for us? It has to be adjacent to it. And I think I've got room underneath. I mean, obviously I can't access it, but that's fine. Now that's interesting. Why aren't you for... Okay, no, it's spitting out still. Bummer. I'm gonna have to figure out a good place to put this chest. We could do something with it. We could put like an interface on the side, behind it, something like that, so that the spent filter material, we want to collect this stuff because it's actually pretty useful. My only question right now is why aren't you running? Because you should be. That's interesting to me. You should be running, and you're not. Why? Purifier? Purify. So the purity, up, there we go. Okay, cool, now it's running. Beautiful, that's what I wanted to see and expected to see, is that this thing would run, and it is now, cool. So you can see the purity of the liquid is increasing, right? It's not a super fast process, but having multiple purifiers running at once definitely helps speed it up, which is cool. I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna collect this spent filter material. Underneath doesn't seem to work, and I'm trying to make this look good. As you can see, I've kind of mapped out where I'm gonna have a few things. But for now, let's get something to, maybe I can either let them spill on the ground and collect them, or I can let them go into a block behind the wall, like here, right? So there's the two purifiers. I could have, I don't want it to be a chest behind, because I'd have to get rid of the blocks on top to be able to open that chest. This is definitely not like a long-term solution, but for short-term, I think it'll work, right? So if we got some of this filter material, almost have the full stacks. Cool. Now this stuff should be purifying, right? And we'll see this filter material being used up. And back here, we're getting spent filter material, which is good stuff. Save this. It's definitely useful for things in the future. All right. So that'll probably change, but for now, it'll work. All right. The next thing that we're going to want is a valve. Valves are cool. Basically, what a valve does, okay, is you can specify a certain amount of stats on your liquid, so purity, strength, and efficiency, right? And what it'll do is it'll transfer liquids from the tank above to the tank below the valve when those attributes match the ones in the setting. So for example, if we wanted to transfer this liquid out of the top tank into the bottom tank here, once we got to 85% purity, we would just do 85 and hit apply. Right? We can also specify the maximum amount of liquid that's allowed to go into the bottom tank. So for now, we'll set it to 6,000 millibuckets, which is, you know, how much we have, because that's how much you need to make one crystal. Cool. Now, at this point, it also says you have to have 100 strength and 100 efficiency, which is probably not the stats that we want to go with. But we do want to improve our strength and efficiency. We don't want it just to sit there and, do nothing, right? We want it to have some really good strength and efficiency. So how can we improve that? So purifiers can get us up to 85% purity. What I want to do is set up an infusing laser. This is a cool little device. Okay, the infusing laser right here can utilize items from Minecraft. All kinds of different things are available, by the way. And if we look in the help section, it should tell us somewhere what the stats are. Let's see. I think it's in here. Somewhere you can figure out what the stats are. You can place items in here to figure out what stats it is, but I thought it was listed somewhere. So for example, redstone will lower your purity by 1%, but it'll increase your strength by 5%. Neat. Up to a cap of 60. So the highest you can get your purity using redstone, or the highest you can get your strength using redstone is 60. Now remember, it's going to lower the purity, but that's okay, because the way I'm setting it up is the laser is going to fire into the tank that's automatically being purified. So it'll lower the purity when we go ahead and use this redstone, but it'll also immediately go back up because it's sitting on top of filters. Cool? So guys, I've collected a set of items that are available. There's a couple more you can use. You can also use gas tiers, which I don't have a lot of, and nether stars, which I totally don't have a lot of. At least not yet. We'll hopefully have a lot eventually. So when you put these in the laser, all right, you get stat upgrades. So emeralds increase your purity by 8%, up to a cap of 100. And diamonds increase it by 5%, up to a cap of 100. So if you want to get your purity, which is stopped at 85% with the purifiers. If you want to get that above 85%, you have to use emeralds or diamonds or something else that adds purity. But I think these are the only two. Quartz might add purity here. Yeah, it's -1 and then efficiency. So those two add purity. Redstone, as we saw, adds 5% to strength. Gunpowder adds 8% to strength up to a cap of 70 and 4% to efficiency up to a cap of 60, which is super cool. It also lowers the purity by 5% though. Glowstone, pretty much the same as gunpowder, except slightly different stats. I would say gunpowder is better than glowstone. So, spoiler alert, we totally have a lot of gunpowder from what we worked on like 2 episodes ago. Almost like I planned this. Hint, I planned this. Other attributes you can get from nether quartz, you get like a bunch of efficiency and only efficiency. Slime balls give you minus efficiency. So I don't know why you would want that. Maybe there's a reason you'd want a really small amount of RF per tick. So slime balls are bad. And coal is minus 10% strength. So if you want to lower the strength, I don't know why you'd ever want to lower the strength. So these two you definitely don't want to use, right? So I feel like the 2 attributes that we really care about for upgrading here, obviously, are strength and efficiency. And gunpowder seems to be a really good way to go with that, right? So that's cool. So we're probably going to be using gunpowder to infuse our crystals. Now remember, that's going to give you a cap of 70 for strength and 60 for efficiency. If you want to go beyond that, you're going to have to use some stronger stuff. You're going to have to get into the nether star territory or something else, maybe gas tiers, I don't know. We'll look into that maybe in the future. But for now, I'd say 70% strength is going to produce a lot of RF for us, and 60 efficiency is going to be a lot as well. Now remember, this only operates on, I think it's 500 millibuckets at a time. So it increases 500 millibuckets worth of liquid 8%. So it's not like you're going to go from 10% to 8%. That's not, or 10 to 18%. That's not how it's going to work. It's probably going to be like 11%, because it's only going to do 500 millibuckets of the 6,000 at a time. So let's see how this works, shall we? The next thing we need to do is put a lens right on the side of the tank that's going to be getting lasered. Cool. The other thing we need over here is power, and we're going to need power on both the infusing laser and on this guy. So we need to run conduits up here, don't I? Yeah, probably. Let's get some more conduits. And let's get some stuff running here. So I'm thinking here. I missed one. And we can facade this up in a little bit. But for now, we want to make sure... Let's run it off this line. That should be cool. I know everything's for now with me, but I mean, I have every intention to make it look nice in the end. I just usually fail to. But I will try, guys. You'll see. Cool. So you should be getting juice now. Okay. So you've got power. This is our crystallizer. We'll be using him soon, and you've got power. So the other thing this guy needs, the laser needs a redstone signal, so let's give him a lever. And the other thing he needs is a catalyst, okay? So I'm going to put away this other stuff that we don't need at the moment. Catalysts are this slot over here, this blue line. You have to put existing resonating crystals in here, right? We've got 3 that we found underground while mining or something else, right? So these guys, when we place them in the world, we'll see their stats. So his purity, strength, and efficiency are all super low, right? His strength is 2, his efficiency is 2, his purity is 14. He generates 68 RF a tick. He's really pretty bad. Pretty much all the crystals you're going to find in World Gen are really bad, and you should not use them to generate power. You should use them for this stuff. Boom, boom, and boom. Nice. We've got some catalyst in there. Now we're ready to roll. All we need to do is give this guy a redstone signal. See the little laser? Poof. And we've got a little bit more strength and a little bit more efficiency. So let's get like a stack of gunpowder. Cool. That's what we're going to do. We're going to throw that in there, and he's just going to start lasering it up. Now, one special note. If your purity drops below 0%, which can totally happen when you're doing this, you are going to lose liquid. It will destroy some amount of liquid. It won't destroy it all, but it'll destroy a small amount. So keep that in mind. You definitely don't want to let your purity drop too low. Now, because we've got the purifiers under this probably won't happen to us. But let's make sure we have enough filter material here. And we're going to throw a little bit more in here and a little bit more in here. And we should be getting a lot of strength and efficiency, right? It's going up a certain amount. And the purifier is doing its job, right? It's re-purifying this liquid. So we're losing purity because of the laser, and we're regenerating some. You saw it just tick up to 79 and then back down again. So that's pretty cool. So let's let it burn through this entire amount of gunpowder, and we'll probably also burn through a lot of this catalyst. Now, we don't have any more resonating crystals for catalyst, but don't worry. The crystal we're about to make is going to be a good one, and we're going to use it to generate power. And when we use up all the power, it's going to be an empty crystal, which we can then use as a catalyst again. So that's pretty cool. So let's come back in a minute. I'm going to take a nap because it's getting dark out, and I don't want creepers sneaking up on me. Creepers would be bad right now. And we'll come back in a second once this laser's done. Cool? So we're down to 5,000 on this blue bar. We used up all our gunpowder, and now we have a strength of 53 and efficiency of 31. Not bad at all. Let's get a little bit more gunpowder, because we could put that in there too if we wanted to, but we'll do gunpowder. I kind of have the nether quartz there ready, but you can see this gets up to 70 on strength and 60 on efficiency, so we're going to want to get pretty much as high as we can, right? We have a ton of gunpowder. So we're not worried about running low on that. And we have a ton of other resources. The crystal, though, we don't have a ton of, right? Resonating ore, we've got some, but not a ton. So you really want to make this crystal as good as you can before you go ahead and crystallize it and start using it to generate power. So you can see our strength is getting to be about the 70% mark, and it is done now. So we can get our efficiency up to 60 with gunpowder, but we're kind of being wasteful. So let's turn off the laser for a sec. Redstone will give us more strength. Quartz will give us more efficiency at a rate of 7%. So that's kind of cool. So let's get a little bit more quartz here. 7% cap of 80. So that'll definitely be more efficient. So by doing this, notice now only the efficiency is going up because this won't affect the strength stat at all. But it'll get our efficiency up pretty good. So let's burn through this entire thing of quartz and see what our efficiency gets to. Remember, strength is the total amount of RF that the crystal is going to produce over its lifetime. Efficiency is the RF per tick that we're going to have. So the more efficiency we have, the more energy it's producing, or the faster it's producing energy. All right, guys, we're close. So we hit 70% strength, 80% efficiency, which is really good. Took my nether quartz out of there, turned off the laser. We can put some stuff away. The valve is now set to 85% purity and 70 on strength and efficiency. So basically, as soon as we hit 85% purity, the liquid's going to drop down into this tank automatically, which will be cool. I want another tank, so let's get one. And this is going to go underneath our crystallizer. And then we're going to want to run some cables. Now, we can even automate this further if we want to, and we probably will as we get more advanced in our technology. So you guys go here. You're going to be provide, and you're going to be accept, right? And you're going to be insert, and you're going to be Extract always active. Cool. This guy is getting close to 85%. When we get there, we'll be back. All right, we're right around 85% purity. Now, there's a little bit of rounding that goes on here, so keep that in mind. But if we keep an eye on this, pretty soon it should start flowing into this tank. So 85, 70, 70. We totally matched that amount, I think. So we should see here in a moment this guy start to go. Come on, liquid crystal. So there might be a little bit of rounding going on here. So let's set this to like 69. Now it's going. Cool. See? And all the crystals going in here, and it's immediately going into this tank because I've got this little pressurized fluid conduit set up. And now, look inside. There's a little crystal forming. So the crystallizer needs to be placed on top of a tank with liquid crystal in it. And what it'll do is it'll start crystallizing the liquid into a crystal. Nice. And then it'll give us that crystal when it's done. So now that we've got that running, let's go ahead and set up the generator that's going to use this crystal to run. Cool. So for that, we're going to need an energy collector. Check. And we're going to need a generator. And for that, we're going to need a couple of U. And at least one of you. I think we'll only need one of these guys for now, but let's get two. So the generator is a multi-block. So let's go ahead and get a little bit more of this stuff. Cool. So this generator is a multi-block. And the more powerful your crystals, the more generators you're going to need. You can have multiple crystals hooked up, by the way. So let's take a look in the book just to see what the generator looks like. Generator is a multi-block, and you create it like that. A single block supports up to 2 crystals and a maximum of 10,000 RF a tick. So if your crystal is going to generate more than 10,000 RF a tick, you need 2 generator blocks or more, right? If it's going to do more than 20, you need 3 generator blocks, okay? And if you want to have multiple crystals, more than 2, you're going to have 2 generator blocks, right? Pretty sure this crystal is going to do more than 10,000 RF a tick, which is why I made 2 generators, but we'll see. So we're also going to need 1 energy collector, and that's going to sit on top of our generator, okay? And then we're going to need a generator controller. This is what turns on and off the generator, okay? So let's get that generator controller. Where is he? Generator controller. There we go. Nice. Okay. So you and you. Cool. Our crystal, after we take a nap, might be done cooking, and that would be cool. So we can go downstairs and set it up. The other thing we're going to want to get at this point is one of these guys, a radiation monitor. So I mentioned there's radiation, right? This is how you're going to detect how much radiation is in the environment and what effects it's having on the environment. Now, 85% is not a bad crystal, so we've got some pretty good purity going on. But it's also not 100%, so that's a problem, right? So we're about halfway done-ish with our crystal. So let's give this guy a few minutes. While that's moving, we're going to go downstairs and set up our generator room. So what we're going to have here in the center of the room will be the generator. And this can be a multi-block of any size and shape. Underneath the generator, I'm going to have the on-off switch, okay? Like that. Does that sound cool? Or maybe we'll do it. Why do I hear an Enderman teleporting? Enderman. Enderman, please. Okay. The energy collector goes on top of the generators, so that's pretty much it. It's pretty much built. So now a lever will turn on and off the generator. The other thing I'd like to do is make sure that these guys don't run for a minute. So I'm going to install a lever here, and that'll stop them from running. And I want this guy to be, I'm not going to say super low on power, but low-ish. So let's go zap our power a little bit by popping into our basement and turning on this thing. Okay, with that running, we should see a huge amount of RF coming out of the system, right? Like 10,000 RF a tick is burning right now. I want to get this guy down to a decent level because I want to see how much energy we're producing, and the best way to see that is by keeping an eye on this block. So let's get this down to about 15,000. That should be good. Upstairs, downstairs, lever off. Enderman, what are you doing in my house? Dude, what's going on? What is happening right now? What is going on with these? What? What? He's just chilling in my house. All right. We're using 1,000 R of a tick to maintain our base, or around 14 million in this thing. Because this lever's here, I'm manually turning off these generators. So right now it's requesting power, but this lever's stopping it. So let's see if our crystal's done cooking. You're out of fluid, which means that you are complete. Nice. So this guy doesn't actually have to be placed on anything, but I'm going to put him right here. Right? Any block is good. So he's got the following stats. 70% strength, 80% efficiency, 85.05% purity, and his power left is 100%. He will generate 13,642 RF per tick. That is cool. That is super awesome. I think I want to change something real quick. I want to have the on-off switch here, and we're going to have the power conduits coming out here, out the bottom of this dude. Cool. Now, eventually I'm going to have a power monitor on this. But before we get to that point, there we go. So we're definitely going to want to use these green conduits, right? Because we have a lot of power coming in. So let's make sure that this side is set to input. This should be input, and this is output. Cool. Nice. So we're going to just connect this dude, run it straight down here. Ah, I didn't want to do that. Okay, and you're going to run underground straight over to this thing. Okay, and tap into this line right here. Cool. Now, eventually we're going to have something to automatically turn this on and off, but for now, let's kick it on. You guys ready? You ready to activate this thing? So a lever right here should activate it. Nice. And we're getting power at a rate of 13,000 RF a tick. That is a lot of power. And you can see the power left dropping there. So we've already used 0.5% of the energy available. Hey, I have a debuff. I've got hunger. Uh-oh. What could be causing this hunger? Let's turn these guys off for a minute. So you should be allowed to run again? Yeah. What's causing my hunger, guys? Hunger 2, that is caused by radiation. There's 23,000-ish points of radiation going on right now. Now, you can see it's dropping. So the radiation does dissipate over time, which is the good news. The bad news is running this reactor for any length of time is going to produce a lot of radiation. Radiation is bad. Cool. So outside here, we're at like 18,000. So it spreads pretty far. Look, there's radiation all the way out as far as this. Luckily, there's a way to contain this radiation. And that's what we're going to work on next. Containing the radiation. So I've definitely got hunger. That's one of the least harmful effects, right? So luckily it will drop. The radiation dissipates over time. So hunger is the least of your worries. Trust me on that. The ground will become corrupted at some point if you're not careful. Other negative effects happen, so you really want to protect your reactor. There's two ways to do it. You can enclose it in obsidian, or you can enclose it in something even better from Deep Resonance called dense obsidian. And hey, guess what you get to use? Your spent filter material. Nice. So let's get ourselves like a stackish of obsidian. Or 3. Now, can I swapping wand you? That's a question that I'm pretty sure the answer is no. We're going to find out. But I suspect it's going to yell at me and say no swapping wand because your blocks are different. Yeah, hardness differs too much to swap. Boo, I say to you. You know what else I might be able to swap with, though? The Rod of Shifting Crust requires a Rune of Sloth. I can make all these things. Let's come back in a minute, because I would like to have this Rod of Shifting Crust, and I think I can make it. I'm going to make it off camera, though. It's just a bunch of crafting with Britannia, so we'll be right back. I lucked out. I had all the runes I needed. So that's actually really, really easy. So we'll get these guys, and we'll get, you're done, so. Sweet. Wand can go away for the time being. And shifting crust. Let's see if this works with obsidian. Hopefully it does. Nice. So this thing works pretty much like the swapping wand. So we're gonna see if it'll work. I think I shift right click it and then, oh, look at you. Now, how do I change the size of the area that I'm doing? Still have hunger, by the way. Rod of shifting crust. Isn't there a way to change the size of it? So left click does a single block, so that's gonna work for me. That'll be good enough. Cool. Nice. So obsidian will definitely help to keep this stuff in here. And then as we get more filter material, we'll probably shift over to dense obsidian. Cool. So what's our radiation looking like now? 2,500. So we definitely went down. We went down 90% so far. So that's actually really not bad. Let me get the rest of this place cleaned up, and we'll be right back. Deal? All right, guys, we're back. So real quick off camera, I made some dense glass, and I made some dense obsidian. And I kind of made a mess. I was playing with the wand, or the rod of shifting crust here, and I right-clicked my obsidian to turn it into dense obsidian, and it just kind of like went all over the place. But that's okay. It'll eventually all be dense obsidian, which will be cool. So we've got dense glass here. It's almost as good as dense obsidian, but you know, you can see into the room, so that's kind of a nice thing. And we've got obsidian everywhere else. So we used up all the spent filter material that we've got to make our dense obsidian, so we're gonna have to purify some more liquid in order to get more. Now the last thing I want to do here before we wrap up the episode and give you guys a world download is set up a power monitor. So let's do that. So we're gonna want some more steel machine casing, conduit probe, not too bad. So we're gonna want steel times 3. Machine chassis start. Cool. Good deal. All right, all set. So let's do this. Cool. What I'm gonna probably need to do is replace these conduits here with the green ones so I can have everything underneath. I'm just kind of checking to see what all is involved in swapping this, but it doesn't look too bad. I think it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I think this will work. Nice. Cool. Okay, so now that that's all hooked together, we should be able to throw down this power monitor. We'll configure you to emit a signal when below, let's say, 40%, and stop when above 85%. Does that sound cool? And then we can just insulate a redstone conduit straight over to this guy, which is the on-off switch. Cool. Nice. Good deal. So that should work, right? So now we're measuring it, right? When this guy, and we can set his sidedness here to be nothing fancy. Cool. So he's draining power right now. These guys aren't running. When he drops below, whatever the threshold was, 80 or whatever I set it to down there. 75. He'll kick on these guys. Okay, let's go real quick. Okay, so these guys should kick on in a second. Once we drop below 75. So this guy's dropping fast. We're going to be below 75 any second. And these guys will kick on. Actually, a lot of power in that thing. There we go. They just kicked on, right? Now, once this drops below 40%, which will be like, what, 10 million? 10 million, 40%? Yeah. So once we drop below 10 million RF total stored in there, it's going to kick on this guy as a secondary generator. So this will run to keep the base running at all times, but then whenever we're running something really expensive, like the Enderman spawner or the quarry, this thing will drop below 10 million, which will trigger this thing running. Cool. And watch what happens now. And we'll also want to keep an eye on our radiation at this point. So as soon as this thing drops below 10 million, we should hear and see our generator kick on. So right now we're at 10.5, 10.4, 10.3, 10.2, 10.1. There it goes. Boom. Nice. Now there is a little bit of radiation that's going to come out of this room. Okay, but this will all fill up pretty quickly. And once it gets above a certain amount, it's going to be cool. So like, let's pop into the room, right? The radiation in here is sitting around 17, 19, 20,000. Outside, the radiation is at like 2,000. So there's still radiation spilling. Out here, not bad, like 250-ish, no radiation detected. So definitely a small amount of radiation in pockets outside this area, right? Nothing too bad though. Inside the room is obviously going to be pretty brutal. It's currently sitting at 30,000. Yeah, really high inside that room. But once we get more of this stuff swapped out with dense obsidian, we'll be in much better shape. Cool. This guy's going to go. So let's pop across here. Turn this off. Okay. Now we should be producing, you know, plus a lot more once that builder's backlog fills itself back up. Remember, the builder has an internal capacitor, and it's probably refilling right now. What's our radiation out here looking like? Still not bad. Only like 2,000-ish, which is great. Inside the room, much worse. Yeah, still sitting around 31,000. Crazy low. Nice. So now we're getting 15,000 RF a tick total. That's going to tick off pretty soon. I forget what threshold I set it to, but any moment now it should turn off. There it goes. And then these guys will turn off momentarily later. Once this guy has finished getting up to its threshold for the oil generators to turn off. Pretty cool? I think so. I'm proud of this build. It works out really well. So I'm going to wrap up the episode and prepare the world download for you guys. So for now, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you've enjoyed the series thus far. We've got a lot more cool stuff to play with. There's a lot of mods we haven't even touched yet. I'm going to probably want to get another set of crystal stuff ready. So let's do another 30 of these and get them cooking. And what that'll do is get us some more filter material, which will be nice to have. And then we'll be ready to do more dense obsidian down there. So remember, that generator won't turn on unless we're using a huge amount of power. So we're in pretty good shape. And just out of curiosity, what percentage is it at right now? It's at 95% power left. So we've only used 5% of the total power capacity of that thing, which ain't bad at all. All right, guys. Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you're enjoying the series, because I'm definitely having fun playing it. For now, take it easy.